Hello, career thought leaders. It's good to see you today. And we are so excited to have Kate Pozeznik with us. Kate is one of our members of the Career Thought Leaders Board, and she's also been through some of our programs and been around for a while. Kate, say hello. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here, Marie. Thanks so much. I'm excited about today's chat.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the world of digital branding. And Kate does such an awesome job of being authentic. She's also used some events to help build her business, and she's got different platforms that she's on. So we are going to be talking about LinkedIn, but we're going to talk about some of the other ways that other platforms interact with her branding on LinkedIn. So Kate, tell us a little about how you got started in the career space. It's been about 3 or 4 years now.
5, believe it or
Okay.
not. Yeah, so it's been a while, although it's gone really very quickly. So the way I happened upon the careers industry is a little bit different. Mainly, my entryway into the careers industry stemmed from my prior experience in corporate America, which was working exclusively with CIOs. And during that time, I realized through the interactions that I had with the executives I partnered with that they had difficulty articulating their value. For example, if a VP of IT was struggling to get the formal title of Chief Information Officer, I was thinking of ways that they could position themselves and be able to articulate to their upper management or senior leadership how they explain their value prop. So that was the first way that I identified that there could be a challenge for executives in corporate America. Fast forward to an opportunity I had to do some personal branding work through resume writing and LinkedIn profile development for an executive coach who I had previously worked for at Gartner when I was in my corporate stint. He asked me if I would do some branding for some of his executive clients, and I took on the NCAA in Indianapolis, was actually the first team that I worked with. And I enjoyed the work so much that I decided to explore different avenues of helping other executives achieve similar results. And that was sort of how I became introduced to career thought leaders, was really looking for resources online that would help me position myself and give me the expertise that I would need to really be able to make a difference in these people's careers.
Oh, that's so great. And then though, you started working with that team, and I know you did find career thought leaders fairly early on in your work. Now, some of you are just hopping on. So we're going to be talking to Kate today about digital branding and how she uses LinkedIn and events and some of those things. But I just wanted her to share a little bit about her background before we dove into that. Now, of course, you've been doing digital branding for a while, since you started in the business. Tell me about how you got started using LinkedIn and TikTok and those types of tools.
Yeah, it's really interesting because even though I had a sales and marketing background, I really hadn't experimented a lot with video or any other type of digital marketing or branding. So a lot of it was new to me, and much of it was introduced to me through career thought leaders. But I also recognized during the pandemic that there had to be alternative ways to reach my target audience. And at that point in time, a lot of people were engaging through online events. Those could have been video events. They were also audio events were really popular during that time period as well. And that was when I decided to start engaging more in a digital capacity online. Now, I've done a variety of different things. I would start initially with Clubhouse, which is the audio, almost like a podcasting platform that's really lost popularity in the last couple of years. But I believe that the audio only platform helped me develop better public speaking skills and also helped me build up the courage to additionally show my face in addition to just speaking. And I think that that's kind of a challenge that a lot of us have to overcome, is being the center or focal point of people's attention. We get nervous. And so for me, that little gradual progression was really helpful in getting into more digital marketing through video. I have done a variety of different things. I will create videos that feature anywhere from a 30-second snippet to adapt to announce an upcoming podcast that I was a guest on, to showcasing that I'll be appearing in an article coming up, to creating full hour-long events where I'm actually hosting a guest to speak on a particular topic. So there are a variety of different ways that I've leveraged video. um, and when there's a structure, when you have a very specific goal or an idea you want to get across, it becomes much easier to create the content that you're hoping to provide to your target audience.
Yeah. Well, and I think that sometimes people are intimidated by video, like you said, and then once you get going on it, you realize it's just not that big of a deal, right? It's not what we make it out to be. I personally love video even better than writing, which is crazy because we're writers, right? But I love video because you don't have to sit there and nitpick every little thing, especially live video. But even I've gotten better at having my team create videos from recordings, and I just have to not let myself nitpick it, just get it out the door. And I know that one of the things you found through your audio events and through video is just the depth of relationship that it builds, right?
Yes. Yeah. And, I think for a lot of us, and this certainly includes myself, our clients aren't necessarily in our hometowns. And so establishing trust and credibility is much more difficult when you're located in Florida and they're located in Washington State. And one of the ways that I found to break down any potential barriers in developing that trust, or at least developing it faster, is to appear on video. I actually prefer live video to pre-recorded things, because if I'm pre-recording, I will record and re-record and re-record, and it's not the most efficient way to do it. Live videos, I think, helps, first of all, strengthen your public speaking skills, but I think that we're much more authentic when we speak on the fly. And that really is, I think, what makes us relatable to other people. Of course, we want to be credible and demonstrate our expertise, but at the end of the day, particularly in the world we work in, where people may be telling us personal anecdotes or concerns they have about their lives and careers, they want to interact and communicate with a human being. So even when they see our idiosyncrasies or quirks, as I would like to call them, I think that's what makes us relatable and therefore more trustworthy, because we're all just individuals and trying to make connections with other people. And I think that when we're able to make those connections, it's much easier to establish a business relationship out of that. And video helps do that.
Yeah, and we've got a master of video and video podcasts on in our audience here, Valerie. Thank you for saying hello. So Valerie runs a video podcast that has been very highly ranked on Apple and the other podcast places for a while. So you should check out Valerie's YouTube. Valerie, don't be shy. Feel free to drop your YouTube URL in there so that people can check that out as well. It's just so helpful to see what other people are doing with video. It's one of the reasons I love to watch what you're doing, and in video and in your LinkedIn posts, which we'll get to here in a minute. With video and events, I should just say events in general, tell me a little bit about how you get people to your events, because I know that's one of the things that people struggle with, right? I'm going to have this live, or I'm going to even have an audio event, and how do I get people there?
Yeah, that is really the trickiest part. Once you can get over the hump of maybe being a little timid or afraid to be on video, the focus needs to be on, how do I get the word out that this is an engagement that my core audience or target audience doesn't want to miss. So I take a multi-pronged approach. I tackle my marketing both from emailing to my email list that I already have established and constantly building. But then I'm also marketing my events and videos through LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, all the places or the platforms in social media where my target audience resides. So that's really one of the biggest things to take into consideration, is when you are doing outreach to market or promote a video or any other kind of live engagement or event, you want to make sure that you're putting the message out there in a place that your audience is actually spending their time. So that sometimes requires a little bit of research. For me, it's those 3 platforms that I mentioned, but particularly LinkedIn. Now, when I'm marketing, I do a variety of different posts. I will have a graphic that I create, or my marketing VA created in Canva. I will also alternate that with potentially a picture of me and or my guest, with some content in the body of the post to promote the event and include the link in the body of the post. And then sometimes I will create a video to promote a video event. And I think if you do a multi-pronged approach, that it's a lot easier to engage people, because everyone prefers to consume information in various ways. Marie, you said you really like video. I'm assuming that if you enjoy creating videos, that maybe you're a consumer of videos over other types of content as well. It's not always the case. But just keep in mind, you need to know not only where your people, your target audience are hanging out, but what format they like to consume. And then I would tackle any and all forms of marketing to get your message across that you are having an event coming up. And I would start
I
that
love that.
at least. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you talked about, are you a consumer of video? And it's funny because I have young kids. And so I don't watch very many videos. My husband's gotten into it a little bit more. But what happens at my house is, if you're watching reels or videos, you all of a sudden have this little head peeking over your shoulder, watching what you're watching. You're like, oh, I don't really want to watch you watching that. But one of the things that I would just throw out there is that 86% of executives say that they like to get their content via video. So just because I don't like video doesn't mean that my audience does it, and it doesn't mean that it's growing. So one of the reasons we were talking about video today is because if you have an iOS, an Apple app, with LinkedIn, you'll now see that there's LinkedIn pages that look like TikTok. And so you're going to have reels, TikToks showing up on LinkedIn now if you've got Apple. And to me, this just signifies that we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years the need to do video, and the need that we all have to get over ourselves and just start doing more video. We've had it as an assignment in our digital branding class for the last few years. And this just says, even LinkedIn has moved into the world of video. And that means it actually is here. It's here to stay. And I hope that we can help some of you feel more empowered to go out and do some more video, even if it's taking a webinar you've done for someone else, turning it into some shorts. I'll drop a few links for systems that you can use to turn them into shorts without too much work. Like, that's not the best type of video, but it gets you out there and it gets you used to seeing yourself on video, which is really a lot of the battle.
Yeah, you really bring up some excellent points. I was doing a little statistic and data research before we jumped on. And, a lot of the marketing agencies that do studies and research are continue to say that video marketing is the most effective method of prospecting, campaigning, and marketing for 2024 moving forward. And, this probably doesn't surprise anyone at this point, but the average consumer spends about 40 minutes a day just watching YouTube. That doesn't necessarily pertain to me. I spend more of my time on Instagram and TikTok watching reels, but that gives you an idea of just how much video is being consumed in social media just with that one platform. And another statistic I found was really interesting, which kind of goes along with what Marie said about executives' preference for video, is that almost 70% of people will watch a video of about a business or a product if it's under 2 minutes. So one thing to keep in mind that also may appeal to your more shy side is when you're starting off to create those shorter clips where there's not as much pressure and there's usually not as much of a need to re-record if maybe you slip up after a couple minute mark. The other thing I would like to point out, I'm not a huge video consumer unless there are closed captioning. I like
Mm.
to be able to read and have a visual to match it. So I would suggest that at any point you are creating video, if there is an opportunity on the platform or through a third party to add closed captioning or subtitles, to do so, because then you could potentially capture an audience that may not enjoy video, but is okay reading content off of a screen.
Yeah, I do like that as well, and sometimes those will catch your eye where it's got the captions. Don't love that LinkedIn adds its own captions, so usually I have captions on my video from a system like Opus Clip, which I'm gonna drop a little link in here in a minute, and you can have some free minutes on Opus Clip, but usually those systems do it for you, and so then, LinkedIn adds its own, and sometimes they cross over each other, which is annoying,
Yeah.
but it is important to have those on there. The other thing I was gonna say is just that it is when you start doing more of it, and I like the idea of doing the interviews first. Like if you want to come on and have me interview you on this Tuesday live stream, let me know that you can come on. Ayana, come on up. Let's get you on the schedule, and you can come on and it can interview you. Or maybe Valerie would like to interview some of our colleagues. She interviews people on her show as well. But that's an easy way to dip your toe in the water, get some shorts that you can share, because typically the person that's hosting will make some for their show. And it's just a way to get going. The other thing I was thinking about with events, Kate, is so do you do any proactive inviting people to your events, like through the feature on LinkedIn where you can invite people, use the
Yes.
invitations?
Yes, I not only will invite through the function that is actually incorporated within the event that you've set up, I will even go so far as, and this is a bit more time consuming, but I do find it to be effective, is writing messages and sending them through DM on LinkedIn and potentially other platforms. But for me, my audience spends most of their time on LinkedIn. And it doesn't have to be, a different message every single time. The body of it can be copy and paste. Just make sure that you're personalizing their name. And if you know them, maybe how's the fam, how was your vacation last week, to draw people's attention to it, because not everyone is going to see an automated invite. So sometimes by sending them a message through a DM can also be really effective. But leverage all of your outreach tools. It takes more time, but it is the way to maximize the size of your audience when you go to do your event. And you think about the time that you invest in creating that event, inviting a guest, potentially, if you have a guest speaker, you really want to make sure that you are taking advantage of the marketing tools that are available to you to get the word out so that people can attend and really take advantage from the opportunity that you're offering them.
Yeah, and I know you do yours on a regular interval, I think once a month. I obviously do
Mhm.
this weekly, but that's another thing that helps with these types of events is to do something regularly. You might think, oh,
Mhm.
people get tired of hearing from you or me or whatever, but that's not what I've seen. I've seen that people
Mhm.
pick, they'll attend when they can, or they pick a topic that really fits for them. But if they can expect that, oh, Kate's going to do hers on the fourth Friday, or every Tuesday. I just saw that Melanie Denny, one of our other certified digital brand strategists, is going to do every Thursday this month. She's going live
Yes,
every Thursday. Yeah. So
I
it
saw
really
that too.
yeah.
Consistency is key. And I agree with having, if possible, a regularly scheduled event or video that comes out the same day of the month or week, however works for you. For me, I like to host my monthly events on a Thursday. And I typically do it at noon Eastern time, which is 9 a.m. Pacific. So I'm sort of kind of getting the sweet spot of two different audiences on two different coasts, one in the morning when the day is getting started and another audience that's maybe at lunchtime. So be very cognizant of not only who your audience is, what platform they enjoy consuming content, but what their schedule might be. And I know that sounds nitty gritty, but people, this is how, you do have to be somewhat strategic. Otherwise, you could end up spinning your wheels and not making the best use of your time and energy. The other thing I was going to say is, you mentioned being a guest, which I think is more like being in the hot seat. I like being on the flip side where I'm the interviewer and where it may be a topic that I have some level of expertise. I will always look for another speaker who I know can either enrich that topic in areas that I can't, or will tackle something that I don't really know much about, but that I know will be beneficial to my audience. And that's the other big key here is throwing an event or creating a video is not enough. You need to understand what it is your audience is struggling with or wants to learn about, or what is top of mind for them or relevant, so that they want to attend the event, so that they feel that there is value to them taking time out of their day to attend. For me, my core audience are women executives. So I'm always thinking about what are topics that are going to resonate. This month in April, we're tackling the intersectionality of executive leadership, which sounds like a complex topic, but really it's how one's gender, race, ethnicity impacts their ability to be an executive leader in the workplace. And in this case, it's particular to women. And then another upcoming topic I have is actually about how women's midlife health issues impact their career advancement. That may seem like a stretch, but I'm basing these topics on the conversations I've had with real clients who are sharing their real concerns, who are sharing their challenges and troubles. And then I'm thinking about, well, who could I invite on that could really speak to this topic and add value where I may not be able to, but can guide them, through other areas that are related to it.
Well, and I did not prompt you to say that, but that's exactly what we're going to do in our session on Thursday. So if you are like, oh, I want to do stuff that connects with my audience on Thursday, we're going to be talking about how to use low tech and AI, all the ways to really get into your client's brain. And this is something I've been teaching in our digital branding class since last fall, maybe the spring before. Really, when we got ChatGPT as a tool, we started figuring out how do we use this to really understand our clients, because everybody talks about how they want AI to write in their voice. But really, when you're marketing, you want it to write in your client's voice. You want it to say the things that your client is saying. And so that's what we're going to look at, is how do you do that? How do you use these tools to really understand your client better and to come up with events that meet their needs, to come up with things that they'll go, oh my gosh, you were like in my head today, Kate. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And then how do you enact that or engage with that information on LinkedIn? So using the invite feature on LinkedIn, as you said, using your email list, using Facebook, Instagram, all the other platforms where people honestly hang out more frequently usually, and you can still push them to LinkedIn or to YouTube. And it kind of depends on what platform you're building on, what platform you want to be on. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, we talked about this a minute, but authenticity. And I just love how you show up with your brand, with your story on LinkedIn. And obviously video is a part of that, but it's a little bit bigger. So tell me this journey you've had to showing up authentically on LinkedIn and beyond.
To be frank, my journey to showcasing my authenticity has kind of been a personal one, in that I'm in my early 40s now, and it really took me until my mid 30s to feel comfortable being myself and being okay with knowing that some people are really going to enjoy me and I may not be other people's cup of tea. And for a lot of us, we struggle with that because it's hard not to take it personal if people don't vibe with us, right? But once I was able to kind of let go of that, and I realized that when I was myself, quirks and all, that I was attracting the opportunities, guest speaking invites, colleague networking opportunities that fell more in line with my brand, my personal values and mission, And so if you're not feeling like you can be your authentic self, or you're not comfortable showcasing that, I would encourage you to really kind of get through the root of why that is, so that you can come be yourself, because that is where you're going to find the most success, because you will connect with people who will get you and will want to work with you because they see maybe some piece of themselves in you, or some kind of commonality or similarity that sort of binds them in interest to you. Yeah, I'll stop there because I could take a deep dive in authenticity, but I am a firm believer. And when you show up with your authentic self on video, it comes across. People are going to know if you are stiff and uncomfortable with the way that you present yourself, or maybe you're presenting yourself as someone you're not quite. Then people feel that, and it can be a deterrent from, having them invest their time and money in working with you. So I would urge you to really embrace who you are and not be afraid to share that with the world, because it is really how you attract the right people and opportunities.
So I'm thinking of the irony here as I show up with my straight hair. And most of you that watch my show, that my hair is usually curly. But I went and got it cut yesterday, and this is the only time you'll ever see me with straight hair, because the hairdresser does all that work to get it straight that I am just not doing. So that I usually show up with my curls, because that's what's more natural for me. It comes much easier for me than all this. This takes a lot of work for them that I will never do for myself. But what I am just struck by when you say that is that over the past, I don't know, decade almost, I have seen this thread through my work with other coaches, that they show up in many of our programs, but especially our branding programs. They show up thinking that they're going to get tools for their clients, or thinking that they're going to learn the how to post on LinkedIn, how to do this. And what they realize is that what makes it different, what actually moves the needle, is exactly this work that you're talking about, where we are comfortable being ourselves, and where we can show up in whatever way we choose to show up, that we can show up in that authentic, and I know that word is overused, but it's this kind of, I'm going to say transparent, but I don't mean like you're revealing it all, right? Personal branding does not mean I have to reveal it all, but it means that I'm going to show up as me. And yes, the parts of me that are appropriate for that situation, but it's that work that really makes a difference. And when you're talking about doing work with your clients, or even for yourself, I would just encourage you that the how-tos and the keyword matching and the SEO optimization, yeah, that's got to be there, but that is not what's going to move the needle for most people. They need help understanding how to show up as themselves, whether that's in person, whether that's on video, whether that's through posting online, whatever it is that they're going to do to build their visibility. What we can do as coaches or brand strategists is really help them push through that barrier. And it's not short, right? I mean, how many years would you say that it's taken you to feel like you're pushing through that barrier?
I mean, like a decade.
Right. I mean, it takes a long time.
It does. It really does. But it's so worthwhile, because, I will say, once you get to the point where you feel like you can be yourself and present that self to other people, you will spend so much less time thinking about how to create content, because when you're yourself, it's easy. You already know you. If you're trying to be something you're not, you have to spend way more time creating this fictitious image or persona that doesn't represent you, or maybe may not even represent someone you want to be, but that you think others want you to be. And I think that's where I got caught up, is I really felt like I needed to have this very formal persona, very professional. And I realized I can be professional and an expert and still be goofy sometimes and speak as if we're friends to some degree. So there are elements of who I am just as a friend and a person that I can incorporate while still showcasing credibility and knowledge. So I think it's finding a bit of a balance too, but just know that it is far easier and requires far less energy to be you than to be someone that you're not.
Yeah. And
And
that
it's
is, it
liberating.
It is. And it takes work to get there, but then it doesn't, of course, just liberate us on social media. It liberates us in all the areas of our life when we're not
Yes.
worried about that performance piece. So I got to tell a joke on myself. I went to dinner with my sister and her 12-year-old. I think her daughter's 12-year-old now, which is just hard for me. Like, I have a 12-year-old niece. But she was talking about the Stanley Cups. And so this is how much of a nerd I am. When I first saw, the first thing I ever saw about the Stanley Cups was about the marketing and how the person that came in and started marketing the Stanley Cups had transformed their business. And my first thought was, wow, I didn't know that hockey was making such of a comeback. Because I had no idea what a Stanley Cup was, because I just don't live in that world. I don't drink coffee, and I'm not even a huge water drinker. So I just had no idea what that meant. But those are those areas where, like, before I might have felt kind of ashamed of that, like, oh, I'm not cool, I'm not in the in crowd. But over the years, it's just like, nope, that is just who I am. I
Yeah.
love sports. I'm not cool. And man, I was just so impressed by that marketer who's turned around the Stanley Cup.
The thing is, you are cool, and you're cool in your own unique way, and you're attracting other people who are cool in that way too, and different. What is there, 7 billion people in the world? We are all unique individuals, but we have many more similarities between us than differences. So you have to know that even if it feels like there are others like you out there, there are, but they're not going to know that you're like them unless you're you. So if you do want to feel supported and feel like you have your own tribe or your own friend group or network of trusted colleagues, if you aren't yourself, then those people aren't going to know that you're one of them, that you fit in with their group. And frankly, even if you don't feel like you fit in any particular group or organization, being you in your personal life is still going to be huge, because it will attract the type of people that you need as friends, as your support system when things are tough. So it really does benefit you in all facets of your life, to your point, Marie.
Yeah. So in addition to the work that we've done kind of on that part of the branding, I know you
Mhm.
just finished the digital branding class. I don't know, was that a year ago? Tell me a
Yeah.
little bit about what that class did for you, both in terms of your brand as well as with your customers.
Well, I'll tell you, I thought I was a pretty darn good LinkedIn profile developer, and I was and still am, but I really realized that through the CDBS course, I became a much stronger writer, in part because we do a large focus on storytelling. And that is so critical, because if you think about particularly the LinkedIn about summary, you're preparing a narrative that's meant to walk a potential employer or another target audience reader in to showcasing why you as an individual are a good fit for their organization or their network, or as an employee. And so telling the story in a compelling way, in an engaging way, is really critical. So that aspect really helped me. Another piece that I thought was extremely helpful was a focus on business development. And I think that is where a lot of us career industry professionals struggle. We are so skilled at our craft. We're amazing resume writers, LinkedIn profile developers, coaches, but some of us struggle to sell or package our services and products. And so having that additional help through the CDBS course was really helpful for me, because it allowed me to figure out what exactly I wanted to sell based on what I felt my strengths were in. And some of the materials include suggestions for how you might package your services and what you might include, how you might tier them depending on who your audience is, how you might even price those services to be competitive in the market. Those are really valuable things that you cannot derive from a Google search. This is all, research backed and actually, based on what has worked for other professionals in our industry. So you're skipping the line in terms of doing all this research, trying to figure out how you should package, digital branding services by taking the course. That was something that was really valuable to me as well. Also, and this was it was a good practice for me as well, was having to create video content. So sometimes if we're not held accountable to do something, we put it off and put it off and put it off. So by taking the course, it kind of put my feet to the fire in a good way that encouraged me in a safe space to create video and get real, honest feedback in a constructive way that I could apply so that I could more confidently create content that I wanted to share with my broader audience. So I would say those are the three biggest points of value that I got out of the course, in addition to also having a group of like-minded individuals that I could bounce ideas off of, engage in between classes with, have, some sort of camaraderie with, to compare notes and understand how they were interpreting some of the homework assignments and information that was being disseminated, which also gave me additional ideas of what I might want to do. So just beyond the material and the actual engagement during the course, being able to network with people who were also taking the course was really beneficial for me as well.
Yeah, I love that community. And I see Valerie on there, one of our personal branding strategists and digital branding strategists. And the community's been around for a long time, started with Reach Personal Branding, and the digital branding class actually began in 2014 with talking about LinkedIn and what to do on LinkedIn. And of course, we still cover LinkedIn and how to do things and what to do on LinkedIn. But now we've expanded a little bit to talk about the other platforms, because like you were saying, getting those other platforms going then helps build your digital brand in a bigger way. And then how do we help clients do that as well? So I always look forward to that program. And Kate is going to be helping me teach that program. Deb Dibb was our teacher for a long time with me on that, and she has moved on. And so Kate's going to be teaching that program with me, and we're excited to do that. So join us. It starts on April 18th. So you got lots of time. If you got questions, reach out to Kate or I and ask, and then we'll start that program on April 18th. But Kate, we are going to be in Lisbon together in person next week.
I can't
so
wait.
I still will go live next week, but we will be doing it from Lisbon, and I can't wait to see you in person.
Likewise. Yeah, I can't believe it's been a year and now we're only a week out, and it's going to be an incredible week of, colleague networking, exchanging ideas, learning new best practices. I'm really, really excited about being able to see some familiar faces and some new ones, and bring home some great ideas that I can implement to help my clients moving forward.
Yeah, and you might not be able to join us in Lisbon, but watch, we're also going to be announcing where 2025 will be. So next week we'll be announcing where 2025 will be on the East Coast, because we also East Coast, West Coast, and then somewhere in international. It's been on Europe the last few times we've been international, but outside of the US. So thank you, everyone. I love your comments. Thank you for sharing, Valerie and Ayana. So Valerie and Ayana were connecting in the chat. I love that. And we will be back next Tuesday to talk about more in the now, the new, and the next in careers. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kate.
Bye. Thanks, Marie.